everybody. Welcome to Ann Ortelee's Weekly Weather. This is the weekly weather for December 28th to January, I'm missing a date there, to January 4th. We have a very busy week ahead with lots of new beginnings and new excitement, in addition to your New Year's resolution. Off we go in talking about the excitement we are facing in the week ahead. Features of the week are Mars is out of bounds until January 4th. Venus is out of bounds until January 4th, and Mercury is out of bounds now until January 16th. Now, with three personal planets, not the sun and moon, because they never go out of bounds. Well, the moon goes out of bounds, but the sun never does. We have a lot of activity on the personal side about how we're supposed to take action, do things, and get things accomplished. So it's a very busy week for that reason. Additionally, we have Mercury finishing up his journey, and all the planets are going to go into Capricorn then. We had the Mars go through there, the Venus go through there, the Sun go through there and set off this little activation of Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and then Pluto next week. So we're working with this energy of adjustment and change. It's really important. And as Mercury comes through out of bounds in Sag, over the top energy, communicating to us and saying, hey, look at me. He's going to break some news to Saturn. He's going to adjust with Uranus and go, oh, wow, I didn't realize that was what was going on. And then he is also going to square Neptune at the world point, and then he's going to enter Capricorn. Additionally, we have a full moon in Cancer and Capricorn at 13 degrees. So if you go back to the beginning of June in 2024, that's when we had this new moon in Cancer. So we're going to have that energy the beginning of June 2024, and now we're at the full moon with Cancer Capricorn, inviting us to see the direction we're going to head in. So first up, on Tuesday, Mercury is square to the Saturn. And we see this nice little pile of planets all gathering down here. We see Mercury here at 26, squaring our Saturn and forming a quincunx to Uranus. And we also know that these guys were earlier, Mercury was forming a quincunx to Jupiter, activating a finger of God. So we've had a whole bunch of fated events as Mars went through, the Sun went through, Venus went through, and Mercury went through. So there's a lot of positive energy in terms of our direction, where we're headed, what we're trying to accomplish, and where we're going. So it's very juicy in terms of the energy of the week. And we can see we're approaching a Sun-Venus cazimi, which is essentially the full moon phase of the Venus-Sun cazimi. 4 years ago, in the end of December, beginning of January of 2021, Saturn and Neptune, or Venus and the Sun rather, met up at this degree of Capricorn around 8. And the Venus was between the Sun and Saturn, or between the Sun and Earth, and they started a cycle. And now 4 years later, Venus is bringing that cycle out into the world in your Capricorn house, wherever you have 8. 8, 9, because that's where they're meeting up. So we're going to watch that Venus-Sun cazimi take place as we go forward with this week. But first, Mercury squares Saturn, closing square. Saturn is here, Mercury's there. So it's a psychological integration energy because it's a closing square. It's going to ask you to think back on prior times. Saturn, of course, is the structure. He's back where he was in 96. He's back thinking about all the things he's done since 96 and wrapping him up psychologically. Remember, regrets, you may have some, but you can't go back. But you can go forward with less regret. And so that's the energy here, is to say, yeah, that happened. It was problematic, but now where are we? And what are we going to do? So over the weekend, I watched Landman. Now I'm a little late. I know it had a whole season last year, but we started season 2, which is this year's show. And of course, we have Billy Bob reuniting with his dad, played by Sam Waterstone, or Sam Elliott. Sorry, wrong. I got the wrong Sam. But anyway, he's reuniting, and the father has regrets, and the son has regrets, but they're having a new opportunity to discuss it. Mercury square Saturn is that energy. Think of the places where you have some regrets And, you made your choices. Can't unmake them, but you did make them. And now, as we go forward, Saturn says to Mercury, so having made those choices, where did it get you? And then later in the week, when Mercury comes to square Neptune, it's going to help you see how you got to where you are now. And we have the finger of God that we're finishing up. We had an earlier part last week with Mercury quincunx to Jupiter saying these are fated times, Fated. Fingers of God mean fate. And as Mars, the Sun, the Venus, and Athena went through and activated those Jupiter and Uranus, what are we creating? What do we need to change because we created it? Both of whom are going retrograde. So they're revising plans. You're in a position of revising plans too and saying, okay, how do I want to change things? Next up, we have the Mercury quincunx Uranus. So this is an activation of that finger of God because it's hitting the second leg. And it does it with this nice little moon in Taurus here, who is, of course, exalted. Moon's in its exalted in Taurus, answering to the Venus in Capricorn. Venus and Saturn are in a condition we call mutual reception, meaning Saturn's in Venus's favorite sign, her sign of her exaltation, and Venus is in Saturn's favorite sign, Capricorn. So the two of them are having a nice big chat. So this energy, the Mercury quincunx Uranus, is the offer, an opportunity to change things, to adjust things, to give it a new idea. Additionally, we have Mercury on a fixed star that's tied to having brilliance. Remo just decided to stop in and hang out. A fixed star of brilliance, acumen and aculus are in this section of the sky. So you're going to have almost cosmic downloads of information that give you really good guidance about what you want to do next and what that next chapter looks like. So pay attention to the information you get. It may be a little disruptive because it's tied to, well, if you really want to do that, then you need to change because Uranus is the planet of change. And he's in technically the sixth house, the Virgo shape from Mercury as the apex. So Mercury talks to Saturn and goes, well, I have some regrets. And Mercury then goes, okay, I hear you. Let's see if we can figure them out or do something different than what we've done in the past. Turn my phone off. I realized I didn't do that yet. And then Mercury goes to Uranus. Well, if we're really going to make these changes, we have to change. And Uranus goes, yeah, I know. Now, Uranus is in a fixed sign, doesn't really like Taurus, but it had a taste of freedom this summer from July 7th through when the planes all got grounded during the government shutdown. And it was like, I kind of like being free. So he knows he's going to get to do that again in April, end of April. So he's listening to Mercury about what is it I have to do. And of course, he's going to be going into Gemini. So Mercury giving him advice about the things he might change to get more resolved or head more towards what he's looking for. This is that energy. So again, as we approach the end of the year, this is New Year's Eve, we make New Year's Eve resolutions. What are you going to physically change? Because it's the Virgo house in your environment, in your lifestyle choices to help you get to where you want to go. And again, we're all in charge of, we're not in charge of what happens to us with aspects, but we are in charge of how we work with them. And Remo is moving along. I was away for a couple of days at Christmas. He's been telling me how much he missed me because I'm sitting at a desk and I'm not petting him. I'll pet him now so he calms down a little. And last night, oh my goodness, when I got home, it was such the howling. I really felt very, very adored and cherished by you. Yes, I did. You're a great little cat. So, yeah, so at any rate, he's in the mood to be part of this. So with Mercury forming a quincunx, and of course, Remo he's a little Mercury ruled boy here because he's a cat. He's my cat. And I'm his human, right? Yeah. So the quincunx is what do we have to adjust, and more importantly, why we are adjusting it. And of course, you're going to pay attention. You might hear some words that are a little harsh. Chiron is on a world point. Jupiter is on a world point, gets off of it, getting off of it now, but it's still on it. And Neptune is on the 29 degree Pisces, almost a world point is, the 29th degree of the mutables are a world point. So you may hear, and Juno's on a world point. You may hear things from people that you don't necessarily like, which is fine because Mercury and Sag can be a little bit abrupt in the way it communicates. It can, just say what it thinks and it doesn't really take into account how you feel about it. Thank you very much. But it also has an energy of, well, why am I thinking that, doing that? Where am I getting called to do that energy from? What's that about? Right. And so with Mercury now quincunx Uranus, it says, well, you told me you had some regrets or you maybe didn't like how some stuff turned out in hindsight, because hindsight's what we have, or maybe you didn't act appropriately or act the way you thought you should have. And I don't really want you playing with my microphone, baby. Yeah. Can you go down? Come on, get down. Go on. Go. Yeah. No rubbing. He's rubbing his face against the microphone, which of course I can see turning off and the thing not recording. Yeah. I gave you a treat before we started. I think clearly it wasn't enough of a bribe. Can I get you down? Yeah. Come on down. Down, 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 down. Thank you. I'll see you later. Sorry. Train of thought. Okay, so is Mercury quincunx Uranus. I had to make an adjustment, literally, as I was talking about it, to my sixth house animal. But that quincunx is also important because it invites us to think about the changes we want to make. And we maybe thought about them this summer, but we weren't ready to make them yet. Because remember, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus all went retrograde back into their signs that they've been in. So Uranus is back in the sign he's been in for the last 8 years. And Saturn's in the sign he's been in for the last 2.5 years, but also he's finishing up a 29-year cycle. And Neptune's in the sign he's been in for the last 14 years. And he's finishing up a 165-year cycle. So these are cycles that also predate you. So they can be inherited cycles, things you got from your family. Born into a family of alcoholic drug addiction. You're looking at your life where you're addicted, where you have some addiction issues and maybe making some resolutions about them. You're making choices. We're all able to make choices about the events that get presented to us. And that's where the free will comes in. You can't get rid of the event. It's going to happen, but you can react to it in a way that makes you go, okay, that happened. Let me figure out how I want to respond to it, work with it, and change with it. So the Mercury quincunx Uranus is an invitation to shift. And notice Uranus is sextile to Saturn and Neptune. So they're working together. They're earth and water. They want to build something new for you to sail off into this fire and air 20 years that we're heading into, 29 years, 14 years, long time. So they're like, come on, don't you want to fix it? Change it? And if you say yes, this is the days, it's the New Year's Eve, it's your resolution. Mercury square Neptune happens on January 1st. And of course, this is your New Year's resolution day. But Mercury square Neptune also offers us an opportunity to think about what we want to do. Mercury is again still on a fixed star of seeing and brilliance, downloading psychological portal energy. So whatever you're picking up and learning and hearing and feeling, go with it. This is the chart cast for DC. So we do see that Sun, Venus, and Mars together in the 12th house, which is also working on how do we shift things out of where we've been, especially if they've come in with us as a karmic story, or they're part of our past lives, because 12th house is past lives, or they're part of our how we undo ourselves, because the 12th house is how we undo ourselves. So we're seeing opportunities on how we can change that. And with the Mercury and Sag squaring the Neptune in Pisces, there's a nice energy here about, okay, I saw the problem. I understand what the solution is that I need to change by my physical effort. Uranus is in Virgo shape, Virgo house. Like I actually have to do stuff. And then the Mercury squares Neptune, both on a world point, and they say, if you do this, this is going to be good. Now, because the moon is in Gemini and it squares the nodes of fate today, these are not New Year's resolutions that you're going to make that are going to stick. What's going to happen is you're going to make them and then you're going to fall off the horse, and then you're going to make them again, and then you're going to fall off the horse again, and you're going to make them, and you're going to fall off the horse again. Why do I say horses? Because Mercury's in Sagittarius. Sagittarius rules horses. The moon is in Gemini, and it is quincunx to the out of bounds Mars. So the moon quincunx Mars says, in all, I have great intentions to do it. Great. Did you do it? Well, I did pretty good, but I kind of fell off a little over here. We're not looking for perfection. There's the only Virgo planet here is the South Node. We're looking for process. It's about the journey, not about the destination. It's the process you're undertaking. So we're going to honor that moon in Gemini on New Year's Day and say, okay, I'm not going to consider it a fail. I'm going to consider it a try again. Back when I was first learning astrology, John Marcusella was my first astrology teacher, and he always said, yeah, why are you picking New Year's for a resolution? Pick a day where it's actually going to work. And, when the resolution you make is going to stick. So Mercury does square Saturn and Neptune. So it's a good resolution or a good vision, but don't give yourself a really hard time if you fail, because the moon is it's in what we call the bends, which means it's squaring the nodes of fate, and it's heading towards the South Node in Virgo, which is try again, and you may not like it, but that's the way it works. So and again, Rome wasn't built in a day. One of my friends who's an organizer for people always goes, the slower you go, the faster you get there. It's the process. So with the Mercury square Neptune, have the process, have the little signs, paint I had a friend who had a wall. We were talking and I said, well, it's kind of like a wall of vision. And she said, Anne, I have like 50 Post-it notes all over my walls, to remind me to do things. I'm like, well, that totally works. What is your wall of vision? And when you fall off the horse, Mercury in Sag, get back up, do it again. You're not dead yet. So you can always change. And Mercury is, of course, going to go into Capricorn tomorrow. And when he does, he's now really seriously minded. And he is answering to the Saturn in Pisces. So he's in Capricorn later on January 1st after 4/12. So there could be a slightly better chance if you make your New Year's resolution at 4 o'clock on January 1st. Like do New Year's and have a good time. If you got a New Year's Day party, go have a good time. And then around 4/12, go, okay, what's my resolution going to be? Where am I in this? We also have a little bit of a hammer of Thor in the sky, because we have the series here. Yeah, we have the Neptune here is square to these things. So there's a whole energy here of having a dream, working on it, but not necessarily having it come true. And we also have Chiron and Athena in a square, and the handle of the hammer is the South Node in Virgo. Again, have a plan, do it, Aquarius, but also Chiron in Aries. If you fall off the rock, it's okay. And we see Chiron is stationing on New Year's Day, right? So he's going to go to stop on the world point, makes it a hot degree for the whole year. And so when we talk about how you're wounded or where you're wounded or what needs to happen, we're going to be listening to that Chiron. We also know that Chiron and Jupiter are square each other. So they're also having a conversation in terms of how do they express themselves and get what they want or get where they want to go. So it's a very good chart for good New Year's resolutions that you're going to fail at and you're going to try again. And remember, it's process. We're also going into a fire horse year. Fire horses are very fierce. They gallop ahead. It's a 1 year in numerology. 2026 adds up to a 10, which is a 1. So it's an initiating year on a world point basis. Last year was a 9, wrapping up stuff. And it was a snake year. So we all shed our skins as we head towards the Chinese New Year at the end of the month. We're going to be going into the fire horse year. So it's horses are hard to tame, but they also get us where we're supposed to go. But maybe really fast. And maybe we fall off a bit because they gallop. It's okay. Hang in there. It'll be fine. Then we have a full moon on January 3rd. which is all about the new energy coming in that's culminating in helping us see things. So with Chiron now officially stopped and stationing, right? He's stationing to go direct and heal us and move us forward in a new direction. We also have the full moon at 13 Cancer Cap. So look at where that is and think back to when we were at 13 Cancer, which was June 3rd of 2025, the new moon that we had then. All right, 2024. The new moon we had then, what were you doing in June of 24? And now we're at a culmination and bringing it out. And then tomorrow on the 4th, we're going to have the Sun Venus Cazimi, the Venus star point. So we're also going to encourage, I'm going to try and do the new moon aspect on in time, but get ready to do a little ritual around what you've accomplished over the last 4 years that's now going out into the world, because the last time the Sun and Venus met at 13, they initiated an 8-year cycle, and now we're at the full moon phase. So if you look at the moons this week, the moon is in Aries on Sunday, and it went void trine to Mercury at 9:13 last night. Today, the moon entered Taurus at 6:57 a.m. Tuesday, it's in Taurus all day. Wednesday, it's in Taurus, going void at 7:25 in the morning. These are all Eastern times, and enters Gemini at 8:13. It's in Gemini on Thursday. It's in Gemini on Friday until 7:24 in the morning, and it enters Cancer at 8:09 a.m. And we have that Cancer full moon on Saturday, and it goes void, of course, at 7:59 a.m. on Sunday, and enters Leo at 8:44. So the void, of course, energies are really basically pretty nice this week. So we're going to work with those and kind of be like, all right, they're very short voids. So the Taurus goes void with a sextile to Neptune. The Gemini goes void with a square to Neptune. The Cancer goes void with a trine to Neptune. So those are all delicious moons and with positive energies in them this week. When we look at our lunar phase calendar, our days of the week, today, the 29th, it's a good flowing day, gets a lot accomplished because that nice little moon in Taurus. Sunday also had good flow. The Tuesday, nice aspects. That Mercury Saturn is contemplative, and of course, that's in the middle of the night, so it might be a dream that you have. Wednesday, the 31st, New Year's Eve, is a complicated day. Good, busy in the morning, but a lot of energy in the evening. A little bit of relationship drama, perhaps, at the end of the day, because the moon in Taurus is quincunx the Venus energy. So there can be, or the moon in Gemini rather, is quincunx the Venus in Cap. So there can be a little stress New Year's Eve. Not bad. And of course, it's Gemini. So Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper are doing their show again. New Year's Day also is when Kwanzaa ends on Thursday the 1st. That one's got a little stress to it. And Mercury square Neptune. So there could be a good snowfall that day. We'll see what happens, or rain, depending on where you live. Friday the 2nd is optional. You know, it's one of those days where you might want to stay home because Mercury squares the Saturn and the Neptune, and it can feel a little overwhelming in not in a bad way, but in a sense of, gee, how am I going to get this all accomplished? And then the full moon is definitely Saturday, next Saturday, the 3rd, is a busy bee day in terms of a lot of drama and things stepping forward and speaking. A lot of opportunity because the moon in Cancer is opposite the Venus out of bounds, the Sun, and the Mars out of bounds in Capricorn, and then it meets up with the Jupiter at the end of the day. So Saturday is a busy day, can be good, can be bad. You're going to see how sensitive you are, basically. Don't take it personally. All these planets are out of bounds, giving you a hard time. And then Sunday, the 4th, we have the moon in Leo. And that one looks like a fun day. It looks like there's a lot of activity, a lot of play, a lot of fun, interesting things going on. And ends with a little bit of a melancholic note because we have to go back to work on Monday, the 5th. And Monday, the 5th is just stressy. The moon is quincunx the Venus, the Sun, the Mars. So you're going to be a little bit like, I so want to go back on my holiday when you have to go back to work on the 5th. But it's all good. And then the Venus star point actually happens on the 6th around 11:30 in the morning in terms of going forward. Tonight, I'm going to have a setting your intentions workshop from 7:30 to 9:30. You're going to get the year ahead with the month by month overview, pointing out how you can make the most of the cosmic energy. It's going to be a busy year. It's a 1 year. And if you can't make it to the live event, you'll get the slides. And also, if you want to buy them later, you can purchase them through Sendel, available on my website. Also, I posted it on Facebook and Instagram, and feel free to sign up. Also, you can sign up for Cupful of Stars. You get a daily 6 to 10 minute audio podcast with a list of timed aspects, a theme song, and an audio review of what the day is going to be like, which you get in your mailbox in the morning with me saying, good morning, good morning, good morning. So welcome to almost 2026. Should be a fun year. We're shifting into the new. We're going to leave the old year behind. I have a friend who, when she has her birthday, she goes, I decided to leave the old year, my old birth year at the portal door. Now, of course, January 1st is a made-up holiday, but we celebrate it as an important holiday. So you can leave 2025 at the doorstep and move forward into 2026. Have a great day.